Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Brendan Plays, and this is Wrestling GM. We are back playing this game again. We tried it out recently on one of my videos, and I actually had a lot of fun with it, and I decided I'm going to do a 10-part series on this game. So if you didn't see the first video on it, make sure you go ahead and check it out, where we kind of run through the game's features, what the game is all about, and we also had a 100 rated match on that one. So in being said with that, you know, we started playing a new game on that one, but we're going to go ahead and we're going to restart. We're going to do a fresh save here. We're not going to continue from that one, so this will be the first official episode. And I was thinking I was probably going to do Atlas Sports Entertainment, which is like WWE, for example. They're the big company in the world. I was going to play as them, but I just kind of had a quick little run through, and I feel like, for me, someone who's a big AEW fan at the moment, I'm going to have to go back to Dynamite Wrestling Promotions. I know, you know, I'm doing a lot of AEW stuff, but I'm just going to have to do it because that's where my interest lies. So we're going to go ahead and once again play as Dynamite Wrestling Promotions like we did in our previous video. So let's jump into it. Okay, so let's get straight into it, shall we? Our main eventers, let's have a quick look at those. We've got Jack Lazarus, Stone Cassidy, Joey Duran, Matt Pierce, Luke Linden, and Azuki Igarashi. I'm going to say that's his name. Yeah, I probably butchered that. But those are the guys to keep an eye on because those are our top 6 stars in the company at the moment. Now, championships. Let's take a look who currently has all the gold. So, the Dynamite Wrestling Promotions World Champion is Jack Lazarus. So he's our top dog. He's got 90 prestige, so doing really well. The DWP Women's Champion is Fiona Fire. Now, I believe Fiona Fire might be quite similar to a Becky Lynch. Now, I believe there is no women's division in ASE, so that's the top company in the world. So our promotion here, Dynamite Wrestling Promotions, will probably actually have the best women's division in the world. So you'll notice that our women's division will be pretty good, and it has 70 prestige to back that up. The television champion currently is held by Elijah Crowix, so that's a good opportunity there to kind of increase that presence on the card with only 65 prestige. And Phobia and Silver Star, which I would say is pretty similar to the Lucha Brothers, they currently have the tag team titles with 66 prestige, so not quite as bad as the television championship, but not too far away. So we do have 3 mid-card championships and 1 main event championship on our company. Okay, teams. So we've got the Superkick Squad, pretty much the Young Bucks, the top guys, pretty much FTR. Lucha Nation, we mentioned them a moment ago, they're currently the tag team champions, so a bit like Lucha Brothers. Metalheads, I'm not 100% sure. I believe they're Butcher and Blade from last time we played, but I could be very wrong about that. Sensational 6, Lazarus and Hammerschmidt. And we got the Sensational 6 number 2, so Austin Awesome and Tyson Oakley. And we got it again, Lazarus and Croix. And then we had the Fearsome Foursome, which is a bit like the 4 Horsewomen, with Simone and Ashley Monroe, Heather Beam as well. So there is some definite names to look out for here in our company. We've got some good potential in the tag division right there. Now, our product, it's a traditional, mainstream, pure realism. That's what it's all about. We can actually go ahead and edit our weekly show name. We might probably call that Dynamite. Why not? So we can name that. And our first pay-per-view, so I believe we do start in January 2020. Okay, so our first pay-per-view we can do, I'm not sure if we have to do one every single month. I think that probably would be a good idea to do that. So we might call this the New Year Smash to start things off, and then we'll go Revolution for February, and then we'll come back to it there. I think we'll probably do it maybe 3 months worth of shows, maybe a little bit more. We'll see how many we get through. Feuds will be very important, so we'll go ahead and start some feuds in a moment before we go ahead and book our first show. But our roster itself, so let's go ahead and look at our main event talent. So Igarashi's got 1 million fans. So the way the game's set out by the looks of it, you know, you got a certain amount of fans, and that really kind of determines where you're at on the card. You know, the more fans you got, obviously the better. But as we learned in our first attempt at the game, we can go ahead and we can use the points that we earn by playing the game to help upgrade certain wrestlers. So if there's a guy we really want to push, and I suppose we'll figure that out after the first few shows who's the right person to push, if we can figure that out quickly, then we're able to spend the points that we earn in-game on those wrestlers to try and improve maybe some of their weaknesses, whether that be their fans, whether that be some of their skill sets. That's what we can do there. But everyone in the main event scene other than Fiona Fire has 850,000 fans, so that's pretty good. Now, it looks like there is no upper mid-card, so it just goes from opener, mid-card, and main eventer, so just 3 sections of the roster. So that keeps it pretty simple, but it will also mean there's going to be a lot of wrestlers in each category rather than really spreading the roster out. But in saying that, we don't have that many wrestlers on the roster. It's not a deep roster by any means. It's certainly got some names, but it's something we might have to think about doing, is maybe trying to go ahead and getting some free agents at some point, and maybe trying to pick up some of the guys that are currently, but have a bit of potential but aren't really doing much at all. So we can sign from USA, or we can go overseas and take a look and maybe try and poach some of the big names overseas and bring them over to us to help us out. Factions, we don't currently have any active factions either, so those are pretty much the main options that we can look at here, as we said. So let's go ahead, let's get some feuds established, and let's figure out what we're going to do for our first pay. Okay, so we've set some feuds to start things off here. So for the DWP Championship, the world title, Jack Lazarus versus Igrashi. So Igrashi's got about 1 million fans, Lazarus at 1.3. So Igrashi, out of all our main eventers, actually has the lowest. So what I figured here is just a chance to try and elevate Igrashi and have a good, solid pay-per-view match without giving away our best match to date. So we can obviously save the big, high-profile money match for down the line. Now, next up we've got the Dangerous Brothers, which is of course probably the Young Bucks, Volmer and Otto, with Dylan Burns and Reed Sandlin, so the top guys there as well. So this is going to be a triple threat tag team feud. So this feud will feature 3 of the #1 contending teams. So the winning team here will get a tag title shot. So this is a way to get all of our teams involved in a feud, potentially elevate them all and get them all going and get hopefully some new fans for them. Angelica Michaels with Heather Beam. So again, Angelica Michaels and Heather Beam, 2 of the contending women, aren't quite the champions or the top contenders, but they're in the mix. Ashley Monroe and Fiona Fire. Similar, Fiona Fire is the champion. She'll defend against a good contender, a solid challenger, but not the best in terms of fans available. And Croix will take on Trey Chambers. So Trey Chambers has one of the lowest popularities in the company. So I figured this is a good opportunity to try and elevate him and have Croix get probably a solid win there. And get a bit of an idea of, whether it's pushing either guy as champion. So those are our initial feuds to start with. We're going to go ahead and book our first show of this save. Let's go ahead and check it out. Okay, our first show is booked. Let's go ahead and take a look at the results of our first episode of Dynamite. Okay, so we opened up the show with a challenge angle. Igrashi will challenge Jack Lazarus for his championship. Igrashi gaining some fans, about 7,000 to 8,000. Gaining a bit of charisma points as well. Not too much gain for Lazarus. He hasn't got a lot to gain, to be fair. So we kick off the feud there between those two. We had a matchup between Awesome against Silver Star for 75. Awesome 64, Silver Star 67. So these two actually performed pretty well. And that's a good little bonus we got in some little areas. For example, face versus heel, that gets a bit of a bonus by the looks of it. Awesome gaining some fans. But eventually, Silver Star, he got the win, of course. He's one half of the tag team champions. He gained 7,000 fans in the end. So, you gain a decent amount of fans per match or per segment. So it shouldn't be too hard to get these guys up and running. A lot of them already have hundreds of thousands of fans, so I suppose 7,000 isn't a big increase. We had a promo between the top guys and the Dangerous Brothers, so that was a 65. No one in this segment other than was a great promo, and Mason Dandridge 74, Nate Dandridge 72, so that's pretty good from them. The top guys kind of lacked a little bit in this area. We had next matchup was Vollmer and Gilliter took on the Dandridges for 67. So not too bad. We're hoping here obviously to try and elevate Luca and Otto, who are one of the lower end tag teams we've got. And Dandridge obviously, they're a great tag team, but we're trying to elevate them. And you can see every time they have a match, they gain some experience. So now they have 17 experience. So that's good. Hopefully by the time our pay-per-view rolls around, they'll be in a better position. But we had this one end in DQ. So the way I saw this one, you can't exactly map out how you want things specifically. At least I don't know yet. But I had Vollmer and Otto. Basically, mid-match, they kind of got the feeling that they might lose here. So they grabbed a steel chair and just kind of beat down Dandridge instead, rather than trying to go for the actual win. Which is kind of what we represented post-match with the it's called a backstage attack angle. But I would probably have this more as a beat down the ring, but that just isn't an option for me at the moment. But it was 61 for this angle. Vollmer and Otto didn't really perform all that well. Next match was Heather Beam against Michiko Tadashi. This was 60 rated. Tadashi 63, Heather 70. Well, Tadashi only has 371,000 fans, so that's a pretty good performance considering her fan base. So I think that's a good indication that I don't think you need a hell of a lot of fans, but to still be able to contribute quite well on our roster, which is great. 67 angle between Angelica Michaels and Heather Beam, as it was a challenge angle, so Angelica challenging Heather there. Angelica 69, Heather 55. So Angelica probably a step above Heather Beam at this point. Semi-main event was 72 rated. Fiona Fire and Kenzie Queen teamed up to take on Ashley Monroe and Simone. Fiona Fire 76, Kenzie 66, 74 from Ashley, and 73 from Simone. So Fiona was the best in the match. No real surprise there, but that's good to see. We are setting up Ashley and Fiona coming up next, which looks like could be really, really good. Simone actually has more fans than Fiona Fire, so that's probably the match we're going to gear towards at some point. That might be our closing match of the series, for example. Matt Pierce cut a promo for 84, so he's one of our main event guys, 1.2 million fans, which is fantastic. And the main event was 91, so Jack Lazarus took on Phobia one-on-one. Lazarus 91, so the main event was 88. Lazarus performed at 91, read that wrong, sorry. 88 main event, which is still awesome. Lazarus 91, Phobia 71, so he performed quite well. 4,000 fans he gained from being in the main event, so that's good to think about, and might be good, good to position some of the low-end guys in the main events to maybe boost up their popularity. Lazarus gained nearly 20,000 fans, so a big gain for him being in the main event, performing well, big match. Fantastic way to close out our first Dynamite. I feel like our biggest problem I've got at the moment is our roster's pretty thin. We might burn out on a lot of our matches pretty quickly, I'm going to admit. So that's something we might have to really aim for. That might be our first major goal of the series, is to try and sign a few more wrestlers to the roster. Maybe probably need 3 or 4 new males and maybe 1 or 2 new females, just to kind of give us a little bit more flexibility anyways. But that's a good start. First show in the books, which is always good, and we'll have our new storylines all set up, none of them really gaining too much heat by the looks of it, so I'd say that might take a little bit of time to take place. But what it does suggest is we've had a pretty good start. I feel like, we are starting to get the hang of the game. It's our second time booking a show in the game. We did one last video, now this one. So we've had some success early on, but it'll be very interesting to see if we can get these feuds running, if we can manage this roster and how thin it is. Because like I said, we probably really do need to try and figure out how we can get a couple new guys to join this roster just to beef it up a little bit. So that might be the major goal of the series, trying to get this roster under control. But ladies and gentlemen, that is it for the first edition of Wrestling GM. If you did enjoy it, please do leave a like. You can download this game for yourself. It's available on iOS and Android. All the links will be in the description down below. Do not miss out on this game. It is free to play and it's quite fun. I'm really enjoying it at the moment. It's got a lot of really great GM aspects that I feel like you can get a lot of depth out of this game. And then, you know, you've got multiple companies you can play as. I think Dynamite Wrestling Promotions is going to be the one for me. So I'm really looking forward to getting back into this and playing some more. Thank you for watching, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you enjoyed it. See you next time.